Welcome to Blues Matters. We have Samantha Martin from Toronto in Canada. Hello there, Sam.
Hi, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm all right. Glad there's no snow today, anyway.
What are you up to these days?
It's March break for my 3-year-old, so I'm mumming hard, mumming
Right.
really hard.
Now, Mom and Hard, how does that go with touring now? Because you've just done a 10-day tour or something like that?
Yeah, I did a 10-day tour. It's really easy to do a 10-day tour when the child's not with you and he's somebody else's problem, namely my partner.
Right.
But it was hard to be away. It was the first time I was away from Nico for more than 72 hours at that point in his entire life. So it was a much needed break, but also I think a challenge for my partner. Yeah.
Well, right. Let's take you way, way back. Why did you want to be a musician in the first place?
I was raised in a household that just loved music, whether it be playing it or listening to it. My mom had an upright, like an apartment size upright, and my dad played acoustic guitar. And between the two of them, I learned how to play music, mostly like very basic, rudimentary on those instruments, and then just a lot of vinyl being played in the house, a lot of CDs. It was just a big part of my life growing up.
And what kind of influenced you?
My mom was a rock and roller and my daddy liked country. So we had influences from Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Janis Joplin to, if you went to my dad's side of things, there was a lot of Waylon, Willie, Hank, and he loved the Beatles. And we listened to a lot of Beatles when we were driving. My dad was a long haul distance truck driver, so we did a lot of driving. So we listened to a lot of Beatles. And then my grandparents, they used to snowbird. They call it snowbirding in Canada, where they would go down to the southern United States during the colder months in Canada. And so when they retired, they would go down to Florida and they always came back with a lot of really cool music. And my grandpa really had I would call it an addiction to Reader's Digest compilation CDs. And so that's where from my grandparents' record collection, I got a lot of the doo-wop and early blues stuff like Fats Domino, that sort of style of music, Mavis Staples, the Staple Singers, and they loved the Platters. And we listened to a lot of doo-wop music with Grandma and Grandpa. And there was the influences, what was cool when I was growing up, you know. So Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was a big record for me. Loved a lot of the early sort of hip hop and R&B like Destiny's Child or SUV. There's a Missy Elliott I loved Missy Elliott. And that was, that was an interesting record because she had a song and I can't remember the name of the song. It might be the Ann Peebles tune, but I Can't Stand the Rain. So she sampled, and I think that was sort of, again, another thing where like hip hop artists when I was growing up, were doing a lot of sampling of some of the older tunes. And then you find, as you dig a little deeper, you find the older tunes. And that was a big influence on me for sure.
So is that what kind of got you into the blues as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. The blues stuff came slightly later. I would say that I was listening to a lot of the Stax and Muscle Shoals catalog, Aretha Franklin and that sort of thing. And when you dig a little bit deeper, that's where blues sort of, soul originated from blues and gospel and that sort of stuff. So just if you're curious as a musician or as an artist or even as a listener, you're gonna eventually come to blues and jazz, So I definitely dug pretty deep through the influences of what influenced me, right?
And what came first, the singing or playing guitar?
Singing, I would say, probably, for better or for worse. But I was 7 when my dad got me my first guitar. So I was pretty young, and I think he bought me my own guitar so I'd leave his alone. And, I loved to pretend to tune the guitar, and I think it was starting to get on his nerves. But he bought me my own guitar, and I just always remembered singing with my dad. So my dad would be playing and I would be singing the songs with him, even before I knew how to play guitar.
Right.
So singing for sure.
And your first time on stage?
First time on stage
Mhm.
depends. First time paid on stage or first time ever on a
Well,
stage?
ever on a stage, your Sound of
Ever on a
Music.
stage was I sang a few of my favorite things from The Sound of Music at a school play. I think that was the first time I was ever on stage, or maybe it was Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat or something. The first time I ever was on a stage with a live band would have been an open jam night at the
Right.
Harb in Owen Sound. I was chasing after a guy I thought was pretty cute, and he was a musician, and I thought, well, I'll take my karaoke song and see if the band knows how to play it. And that was the first time I was ever on stage, and then the first time I was ever paid to be on stage was the Cavalcade of Lights in Owen Sound, Ontario, and they paid me a handsome $50 sum, and
Oh.
I froze my arse off and sang my pants off, and yeah, first time I ever got paid to play.
And did that make you want to be on the stage more?
Yes, definitely. Clapping? Are you kidding me? That's, like, so exciting as a as a girl who was a little bit of an outcast in high school and, just I was also a disturber. I was a shit disturber in high school, and as a kid, I was always disrupting things and that sort of thing, so I was getting some positive attention. I was like, "This is
Right.
awesome. I'm not in trouble. People are clapping." So I kinda leaned into it. For better or for worse.
And then people gave you money for doing it?
Yeah, decent money too.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not rolling in cash like, Scrooge McDuck, but I'm doing all right, making a living. Beats digging holes.
Yeah. And what about playing live? Do you ever get nervous? You get stage fright or anything like that?
I don't know if I get it's funny that you asked that because I just did that 10-day tour, and for
Mm.
some weird reason, like, I don't get nervous anymore. I definitely did when I was younger. And, like, first starting out in my 20s, like, I would get my hands would be sweating, and I'd be, like,
Mhm.
a little bit nervous to go on stage, but I kinda outgrew that the more I played and that sort of thing and became, like, more self-confident, I guess,
Mm.
in my abilities, but it was weird. I had a whole bunch of family at the last show of the tour, and I don't know why, but I was nervous upstairs. I was saying to, like, Cherie, one of the singers in my band, I was like, "Cherie, I
Mm.
don't get it, like, I'm nervous." And I think it was because it's been a while since I had toured because I became a mom, and I was, like, sort of not starting over again, but I was, like, not as, self-assured as I had become after so many years of playing and touring. So it was an interesting feeling. I don't know if it is necessarily a bad thing. I think those nerves that it is like almost excitement,
Yeah.
unbridled excitement at the thought of walking a tightrope in front of your friends and family, I guess. I don't know.
And you talk about muscle shoals and stacks. I mean, you can hear that in your music style. How would you describe your music style?
It's hard, right? It's hard to pin me down.
Mm.
It's really hard to pin me down because from a songwriting perspective, the lyrics that I write, I want them to
Mm.
be like sort of like a story. So that's the country music influence. And then there has to be a beginning, a middle, and an end kind of song structure and the hook and all that kind of stuff. But then you have the sonic landscape of these songs that are leaning into the soul blues realms, like sort of blue-eyed soul sometimes, and then there's the grittier stuff that's maybe people are saying that I'm more blues in that way, the Janis Joplin-y kind of blues. But then there's also the like sweeter, softer, I've been compared or well, I don't know if you could say that Etta James was sweet and soft. It was visceral for sure. But the Etta James kind of stuff where it's a little bit more on the polished side of things. Through line of all of that is me and my voice.
Mm.
So I am who I am. I'm the sum of all my influences and we just kind of I call it roots and roll.
Yeah.
So it's the
And how
roots
did
of
you
all the roots of all American
Yeah.
style music between 1930 and 1979.
And how did you become a band leader as such?
Well, I mean, I became a band leader because if you ever heard me try to sing harmonies, you'd know I can't blend. I
Right.
can't blend for shit. So I'm sort of like just not a good side player as far as a vocalist is concerned. And I'm
Right.
not adept enough of a guitar player that people would hire me to do it. Like what I'm saying is there's like far more fancier players that you would pay to play acoustic guitar in your band. So that kind of left me with one avenue, and I just kind of went with it. That's how I became a band leader, and I think too because I went to school for business, so I had the sort of drive or at least the foundational understanding of how to make it a business, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And then when you're handling a lot of the business, you end up being the leader kind of thing, I think sometimes. Not all the time, but yeah, just I fell into it hard because now I got a
Yeah.
10-piece band. It's a lot of people to lead.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
And I get mixed reviews.
Right.
Mixed reviews on my job of leading the band, but for the most part, everybody's happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, because you can't pigeonhole, it's really good to play different festivals. I mean, you don't just play blues festival, you play roots festival, you can play jazz. That must be in your favor sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, being a little bit hard to pin down genre-wise opens a lot of doors, for sure.
Mm.
It also closes some doors, like there's also the naysayers, like, she's not blues enough to play
Yeah.
this blues festival. She's not soul enough to play this festival. She's definitely not jazz. I play folk festivals. Especially early on in my career, we were a 4-piece band. So we did a lot of gospel Sunday mornings, where we were in charge of, bring in the staple singers, vibe to the Sunday
Mhm.
morning at a folk festival. So, but I think doing that makes you a more well-rounded musician and being able to adapt makes you, because like we've played soft seat theaters
Mm.
to Spanish rock bars, like,
Uh,
where like we played this bar in Torredembarra, Spain, and
uh,
it was this like it looked like a cabin shack kind of thing, and I was, like, in the middle of, like, a bunch of apartment buildings, and there was, like, dogs with one leg running around and stuff. I was like, "Where are we?" Anyway, we played that show, and it was packed with people, like, packed, 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 but it's more like playing, like a rock show at that point because people are there to party, and so
yeah.
we bring the party, but then we're just as comfortable playing a soft seat theater where it's, and I think my show sort of changes and adapts depending on the venue.
Right.
Like in a soft seat theater, you might get to know me a little better. It might be more like, hey, I'm going to tell you a little story about where the song came from, or I'm going to tell you a little story about who I am and what I've been
Mhm.
dealing with. But when you go and play the rock club sort of thing, it's more like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, like
Yeah.
just keep them partying, keep them drinking. So my show changes depending on what kind of venue you see me in. And I think
Yeah.
that has a lot to do with the differences of types of songs that I write and the difference in the shows and how I am as a musician. Some of my band members are like, why are you placating to the audience so much? Like, why not just do the show? And I'm like, no, we're entertainers. We're here to entertain them. Like at the heart, people have paid their hard-earned money to come and be entertained. And if the show that we have been doing in a soft seat theater is going to fall flat in this Spanish rock bar, then what the hell are we doing here? So adapt or die. So we adapt.
Does that cause friction sometimes at all?
No. I mean, no, like there's some people who are just like, oh, but you sing this song, or I really like this song and it's
Yeah.
soft and nice and I like playing it and that sort of thing. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, have you seen these people? Like they want to party. It's not a
Mm.
party song. Like we might be able to throw that in once they're so hot and sweaty and they need a break to go to the bar and want to listen to something
Exactly.
nice. But we got to pick our moment, you know? So
Exactly.
there's been a lot of, you know, I'll write out a set list and then we get in and we see the crowd and I'm like, this isn't going
Yeah.
to go. We got to change. And I'm calling songs that might not even have been on the set list. I'm like, you better remember how this one goes. We're doing it. So yeah, it's I think that's the mark of a good entertainer and a good performer and a good musician and band leader is to know how to read your crowd and know what they want and give it to them, deliver.
When you're playing a home crowd, is it easy to do a set list, make up a set list? Are there particular songs that you like playing to your home crowd?
My home crowd, like
Yeah.
Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Toronto, I'm not sure if you've ever been to Toronto before, but
No.
good luck getting them to uncross their
Yeah.
arms.
Right.
It's hard, man. It's a hard city to get them rocking and rolling in certain situations. But depending on the kind of show that I want to do, I'll book it in a certain venue.
Right.
Right? So the venue makes a big difference. You know, like when I wanted to do the Decade of Delta Sugar, so the band had been together for a decade and we wanted to do something that was special to celebrate that. And I booked it into like more of so there's a venue in town called Massey Hall. So it's the big grand dame of Toronto, and they are now sort of branching out and becoming like adding extra venues into the mix. So it's the Allied Arts Center, and there's a room called the TD Music Hall. So we did our Decade of Delta Sugar in the TD Music Hall. I wanted people to listen.
Right.
So that's why we booked, because I did the breadth of all the songs that Delta Sugar, we did like sort of a retrospective kind of show. And I picked songs that either really, really resonated with people or songs that I felt were my strongest songs.
Right.
And that's how I put together the show. And we started off with just me and the vocalist singing a cappella.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sort of like grew and grew and grew and grew throughout the night. So then I had this 10-piece band, 2 drummers, like chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I want a rock and roll show, Horseshoe Tavern. If I want people drinking and dancing and sweating, you book it in the Horseshoe. I used to say the Dakota Tavern, but the Dakota is unfortunately no longer a venue here in Toronto. But the Dakota Tavern, the Horseshoe Tavern, those are sort of the fun, you know, people just really there to have a good time.
It brings us nicely to your new album that's coming out.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Right. Tell us all about it. All about the production, where it was made, the choices of songs. It's all yours.
So the Beautiful Buzz is the record that we recorded when I took a 10-piece band with 3 crew, an opener. It was chaos. Anyways, but we filmed it, we recorded it. We had a 10-piece band. Steve Mariner was a tour manager and he was opening the show's solo. And I was 6 months pregnant. And it was November, which, if anybody knows, Canada is dicey weather. And we started the tour in Saskatoon. And we played our way out to the west coast of Canada, out to BC. And the last show of the tour took place in Maple Ridge, which is just outside of the downtown core. Like it's a little bit out, an hour about outside of Vancouver. But they've got a beautiful theater there. And it was just a rock and roll show in a theater. And it sounded good. And we played good. And I stored all of the footage and all of the recordings on a hard drive and then went and had a baby and forgot all about it. Just, you know, in the trenches of motherhood. And then we started playing some shows again. And I had a sub saxophone player, like somebody who's going to just come in and fill in for my regular sax player who wasn't available for the show. And I needed a version of Loving Cup, which was the Rolling Stones, which we wanted to do at this show now. And so I was like, well, we changed it though, but I don't know how to explain really how we changed it a little bit. And it would be easier if I could just send him a copy of it. And so I went digging back through the archives, went into the vault, and I was digging. And I was like, ooh, this is a good version of it. And it was from the Maple Ridge show. And so I cut out that one song, sent it to the thing. And then I was like, you know what? Let's listen to the rest of that show. Because that was a banger version of that tune, right? So
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, let's go back and listen. And I was like, this show's on fire. Why the hell have I been sitting on it? So I went to Renan with Gypsy Soul, and I was like, listen, it's been a while since I put anything out, because November 2020 was when we released the last studio record. And I was like, and I've been like off on maternity leave. That's kind of snowballed into this extended sabbatical. We need to like remind people that I exist.
Yeah.
And what better way than with a live record, because the Delta Sugar is known for our live show. Like that's what we've built our reputation on. And all throughout my career, people have told me like, oh, I love your record, but you're so cool live. Like the show is so cool live. So surprise, long overdue. Here it is. A beautiful buzz.
Is that the full concert or have you had to take some songs out?
I had to take some songs out because that was a 95, maybe 100-minute show, and we only had enough money to do 2 vinyl. So it's going to be a double vinyl. So I had to cut out the songs are in order of the show. We just cut out some of the extra stuff that I felt it was good, but it wasn't going to make or break the flow of the show kind of thing.
Talk about some of the songs and your songwriting. Do you have a songwriting technique? I mean, you collaborate or do you do them yourself?
I collaborate and I write by myself. When I write by myself, I write on acoustic guitar.
Right.
So limited to my abilities on the acoustic guitar, what I can kind of do. But I also co-write a lot. And the co-writing takes shape depending on who I'm co-writing with. I co-write with Curtis Chaffee, my guitar player, Miles Evans Brana, who also plays keys with the Commoners, which is another band on the label, and he plays keys with Delta Sugar quite a bit. And when I write with him, it takes on that sort of like Muscle Shoalsy kind of thing, like more Aretha, Candy Stanton kind of vibes. And then if I've written songs with Paul Reddick, I've written songs with Tara Lightfoot, I've written songs. So it really just depends on who I'm writing with, how that sort of takes shape, because everybody brings that special thing that they do. And I try to be more malleable because I'm asking them to come and help write songs with me. So it's like, how do you want to write it? But with myself, it tends to start on the guitar and then I'll hum the melodies and then I'll come up with the lyrics. That's how it works for me by myself. But that is not how it goes all the time with everybody else.
Just for example, The Crown. How did that come about?
My Crown was written by Wrench. So back in 2013, 2014, the guy who produced the first Delta Sugar record, his name is Oscar Owens, but he goes by Wrench, and he's in a band called Gangsta Grass, and they're based out of the US. He said, I have this song and I really think you would knock it out of the park. So I didn't write that one. He gave it to me to record, but it's been a Delta Sugar song since the beginning. So I like it. And then he made it so much bigger and bombastic than it was in its original form. And, I got Wrench's blessing. He was like, I've never heard that song. Sounds so good. He was so excited about the horn section on it and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the guys in Gangsta Grass are good friends. And, yeah, they borrowed me that song.
And what's been your most memorable concert?
My most memorable
concert? Yeah.
Memorable for what reason?
Exactly.
Two times I would say are most memorable for me. for different reasons. One was I played Montreal Jazz Festival on the big Rio Tinto stage, which is the big stage. And there must have been 15,000 people that I could see. You know what I mean? Like, it was a huge
Yeah.
sea of people. And we played really well. People were clapping, they were dancing. Like, I was like, we got him. And then I went to the merch table, which was like a quarter mile, like, in the wrong direction from the stage. And I was supposed to be doing a signing, and there was like nobody. And I was like, oh geez. So that was the high and the low of the music career, of my music career. It was like, I played to the most people I've ever played, and I sold the least amount of friggin' seats. So that was, and it was so, oh God. And Sue Foley, do you know Sue Foley?
Right.
So Sue Foley had just played also around the same time. She ended a little bit later than me. And so she showed up, and she played in like a smaller setting as she was doing a signing, and people started asking me like about Sue's merch.
No.
And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm not Sue's merch girl. I'm Samantha Martin. I'm also a musician. Like, I'm going to just go now. Like, I was like, nobody's coming for me. Everybody's here for Sue. I'm just going to get out of here. And then they didn't have somebody to help me get my merch suitcase back up the hill to where we were staying. And I had to, in my sequin dress and high heels, hoof it up a hill, pulling a suitcase. I was crying because I was like, I just played to 15,000 people, and look at me. I am no further ahead than I was 10 years ago. This is bullshit. But it was memorable for that. I was like, it was humbling. And I think at that point I needed a humbling. And that was great. And then the second most memorable show that I think we've played was we were in, I think it was the Ramblin' Roots Festival at the Tivoli in the Netherlands. So it was in Utrecht, Netherlands.
Right.
That was the biggest sort of crowd I think I ever played to, and most receptive crowd that I'd ever played to in the Netherlands at that point. And the whole room was packed. I was so blown away. I loved it. And it felt like my rock and roll moment. I have arrived in the Netherlands. So that was a super fun, and it's such a cool concept too. Like, if anybody's ever been to the Tivoli, there's all these different floors, and they all have venues in them, or multiple venues in them. And it's just such a cool space and a cool idea. And I think it's such a cool way to be an incubator for musicians.
And what's been your best advice in your career?
You got all these questions where I was like, best advice in my career. There was, a mastering engineer here in Toronto called Peter. His name was Peter J. Moore. And he's, he's remastered the Basement tapes. He won Grammys and stuff. Like, he's very, very prolific mastering engineer. And was a dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, he's gone now. But back when I was first starting out, he pulled me off a stage and he said, Sam, when somebody tells a joke over and over and over and over again, the same joke? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, gets less funny every time you hear the punchline. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, that's what it's like when you just are on 10 all night long. He's like, you need to be able to so he was talking about my singing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you need to be able to go back and forth and just give them a little bit and then pull it back, and give them a little bit and pull it back. And I think that was some of the best advice that I've gotten from the industry, the industry as a whole, some of the best advice, because he's not wrong. Nobody wants to hear me screaming at them all night. Just because I'm capable of doing it doesn't mean I should do it all the time. And then the best advices I ever got when I was younger was from my dad. And he said, sing to the back of the room. Between my dad and Peter, there was a little bit of conflicting information, but I just don't think my dad understood the capabilities that I may have possessed when he gave me that information. But it was, the juxtaposition. It's conflicting advice, but they both sort of made me who I am today.
And singing, have you had vocal coaches?
Not vocal coaches, more like learning how to like do warm-ups and cool
Mm.
down and how to take care and maintain
Yeah.
my voice and like how to access, you know, parts of my voice I wasn't utilizing, but like nobody's like taught me how to sing. It's more like yeah, they're just like I've had a few one coach in particular, his name's Faulkner Abram here in Toronto, and he's like taught me a few ways to like access
Mm.
my head voice for certain moments or but mostly it's just warming up and cooling down and warming up and cooling down because
Mm.
I'm not your average sort of like female vocalist. It's not what you would normally hear. Let's just put it that way.
It's very, very distinctive. When did you find out yourself that you could sing with that range and that power?
I I think it was me trying to get heard over top of rock bands.
Right.
It was a and with bad monitors and or no monitors. And I think I just smoked cigarettes at the time and got that gravelly thing and now it's just is what it is, you know? I don't know. I really do think it was like a matter of survival in the beginning.
Right.
Just sort of like I needed to hear myself and I just went for it till I could hear myself, you know?
And touring, have you any plans to tour Europe,
Oh yeah. And the
UK?
UK. Yes, absolutely. You know, like when we put out the record, the Reckless one in 2020,
Mm.
that was like mid-pandemic, you know? We thought we
Yeah.
had saved it and the pandemic was over and then the lockdowns keep going, right? And I was just like, "Damn it." So by the time we were able to properly tour it, the life cycle of that album was
Mm.
already done and then I was pregnant.
Mm.
So it put me on hiatus a little bit, but, you know, I'm back, baby, and we have absolutely I would say probably 2027, you'll see us. Yeah, for sure, because we've got a new studio record that we're going into the studio to record starting at the beginning of April.
Right.
So, we've got the songs, like, the
Mhm.
new album's getting recorded now. So by the time we get it all out and get all the balls rolling, it'll be 2027, but we're coming
Right. Is that
sooner.
with the is that with the 10-piece?
How
Yeah?
much you want to pay for me to come? But yeah, but I mean, I would love to be able to tour the UK and Europe with a 10-piece band. We'll see what the money because I'm a
The
business
visas.
person, right?
You've got the visas to worry about first.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what I tend to do actually
Uh-huh.
is I'll bring the core of my band and then I can hire
Right.
you know, depending on what the thing, you know, what the show is, if it's
Mm.
worth hiring, say, over to bring a horn section, we'll hire a UK horn section. All the
Right.
songs are charted.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I don't necessarily have to do every show with a horn section, you know, but if the show calls for it, if it's like a festival or something like that and they're paying us well, let's do a horn
Yep.
section. We got it.
Sounds good. Have you got any other projects coming?
Just the new record, this live record that we're just in the middle of putting out, and then the new record. Other than that, I don't have the bandwidth for many more projects than
Yeah.
what I'm already doing. My project is to keep my house relatively clean that if somebody was to pop over, I wouldn't
Hmm.
be embarrassed. But that's, you know, having a 3-year-old toddler boy is my,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
it's a full-time job in and of itself. But yeah,
The
musically speaking, we got a lot of irons in the fire right now. So I'm
mm.
excited about just seeing where those ones go.
But you're not saying anything about the new album.
I'm not saying anything about the new album.
Are you saying anything about the one for 27?
Am I saying anything? I mean, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. You know, it's definitely more of the 2020 record. So like
Right.
it's the continuation sonically, I think, but like a little like we're going to lean a little bit more into the
Right.
same direction. And I think the songs are cool. Really cool. Like they're going to get people up and dancing.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. But the live album, what do you feel about it? How do you feel when you're releasing an album?
How do I feel when I'm releasing an
Mm.
album? Overworked and underpaid. how do I feel? I feel excited. I'm
Mhm.
I'm always like, oh God, I can't wait for you to hear it. And then it's sort of like when you give somebody a gift and you're kind of like, do you like it? Do you like it? Like it's this anticipation
Mm.
and hoping that people hear what you heard when you made it or when you decided to put it out. And yeah, so I'm sort of in this thing where I'm like, do you like it?
Well, I love it. Yes,
Good. Yay.
I've heard it. I love it. It's great. Yeah.
It really, I found that it was just such an energetic show.
Mhm.
Like, and that it really translated to recorded audio well.
You definitely get that in the audience participation as well.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah. Listen, just let's see your
Huh?
soul clap.
Huh?
Like I like audience participation. Try to get them involved as much with the show because I think audiences like that invitation
Yeah.
because it makes them feel less silly if they wanted to, right? You have to invite the audience to come with you on the journey sometimes. You can't just
Absolutely.
hope that they're going to do it. You got to be like, it's okay if you do it. As a matter of fact, this is how it's done, like but yeah, I think the audiences had a good time on the tour and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's about that time, I
It's about
think.
that time.
At that time, for the last question, what does success mean to you?
Success to me is longevity. I think success to me is like that. I think if I could sum it up pretty succinctly, it's longevity. But what does longevity mean? Longevity means not having to have a day job, not having, so you're making enough money to be able to keep going and to also provide for yourself, your family,
Yep.
and that sort of thing. And the longevity of the music, does it stand the test of time? Because I sit and I listen to music that was put out in the 60s and 70s,
Mhm.
and I'm like, it's still better than some of the shit that I've heard. You know what I mean? That's coming out now.
Yep.
And we have all these
Yeah.
technological advancements and all of this, everybody can make a record and it's cost efficient and all this and now we've got Suno and all
Oh, I
these
agree. Yeah,
AI
and
music
everything. Yeah.
things and the whatever. It cannot touch the level of musicianship and talent and just vision of some of the greats. And I really want my music to sort of have that longevity as well. I hope that my music will have that longevity as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah. How's
Sounds
that
good.
for an answer?
Yeah.
It's almost like I knew you were going to ask it, but I didn't. I was just like, what is success? Shit.
Yeah. Great. Anything you want to say to the Blues Matters public?
I love you guys and gals. And I hope that when we eventually make our way across the pond to the beautiful UK, that my audiences will help me with the longevity of this career because I've been meaning to come and see you for a really long time and I'm sorry it's taken this long. So, bear with me. I'm coming. I promise.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.